All right, so good morning again. Any questions? So a couple of people have asked me about updating the decision tree. Probably the safest, cleanest way to do that is as you're moving through the tree, as you're playing the game, keep track of your prior node as well as your current node. Right. So each time you move down to the yes or no, and you say, current node equals current node dot yes or dot no. Before you do that, set a temporary equal to your current node. And then when you get to the end of the game, you've hit an answer node, you got the wrong answer, you have to update it, you know where you came from. Right? So you can take that previous node and adjust its yes or no to be the new node that you're creating. And the only other trick there is make sure you remember which way you traveled from the previous node. So set a flag. So if you decide you're going to the yes side, set a flag saying I'm going to the yes side, set a temporary equal to your current node, and then change your current node to current.yes. And then when you're at the end of the game and you're ready to adjust your tree, you know the previous node, right? And you know which way you traveled, so you know which node needs to be replaced with this new small decision tree. Oh, lots of people joining in. It must be bad parking again. All right. We're going to be moving towards using Eclipse for a lot of the rest of the course. And I'm doing this with some trepidation. Okay, so I used to teach all of 223 in Eclipse. And then I started, teaching it after the first week. And now we're, halfway through the course before I'm introducing it. I may push it back to the last week at some point. I want people to have experience with it because it's still one of the most popular in general IDEs, integrated development environments, available. Now, a lot of people, are on the IntelliJ bandwagon, and for coders, that's great. But there's still a lot of use of Eclipse in other paradigms. And it's a fairly unobtrusive IDE. It still lets you concentrate on coding instead of learning about Eclipse. Some of the newer development environments really force you to become an expert on their way of doing things. Okay? And that's not my focus here. If you want to take a course on an IDE, take a course on an IDE. But our goal here is to learn object-oriented mindset, object-oriented programming, Java in particular, work with some of these objects and so on and so forth. And I want that to be the focus. So I'm going with Eclipse because, like I say, it's relatively lightweight, at least compared to some other alternatives. Not as lightweight as something like NetBeans, which really is there just to sort of help you, but doesn't impose any demands on you. Eclipse gets a little bit demanding. So I've been using Eclipse for a number of years. I still don't use it in most of my work. I still go from the command line. But my Eclipse environment has been, developed and tailored and customized over the years. And for most of you, if you're just downloading it for the first time, you're going to have a very different experience from me, and the things that I do in Eclipse are going to look different from what you do. So I've moved my Eclipse installation off to the side, and I'm going to go through the start to finish process of downloading, installing, using, and to some degree customizing this development environment. So that we'll sort of see what the common experience will be. I'm kind of guessing / hoping that most of you are using Linux at this point instead of Windows. If you're not, you should seriously be thinking about having a Linux environment to call home, because obviously we've been doing a lot of Linux here. When you move on Windows, you can make Windows do things for you sometimes, but it's really kind of working around the system to get it to work. And Linux is sort of a different experience. It's really this open environment. It's there for you to do with as you see fit. And in general, it seems to work a lot better for people who are, you know, in a program trying to learn computer science, trying to understand how computers work and work with them. So hopefully people are on a Linux environment already. I'm going to be installing Eclipse on my Linux machine. I don't have a Windows machine anymore, which kind of is a bummer for Steam. But so your experience may be slightly different from this, okay? But as far as installing a new version and getting it to work and putting in the add-ons that we need for making GUIs and stuff, that should be a pretty similar experience. But don't take this as like a step for step, okay? Because if your system is slightly different, one of the steps might be different. So this is just sort of a overview, okay? So I'm going to go to Google. I'm going to look for Eclipse. Make sure you're coming from eclipse.org, not you know, shameless advertisers .org, right? /eclipse or something. Usually it's the first thing that comes up, but make sure the domain is eclipse.org. And I'm just going to click on Eclipse download, and I'm going to go to download packages and see what's available in here. Because Eclipse works for a lot of different environments. There's a C version, there's Eclipse for Java, there's the Enterprise Edition and all this kind of stuff. We just want Eclipse, integrated development environment for Java developers. Okay, that's us. We're doing development, not just using Java. Windows, you're going to go up here, Mac here, Linux, I'm going to go with this one. So I'm going to do 64-bit. And I'm going to download it from Canada, I guess. That's fine. And yeah, I'm going to save it here. And it'll take a minute to download, but it's not too bad. Finishing up my blueberry pancakes. So it's downloading this file. When it downloads, it's going to be just a tarball, a gzipped tar file. And you're going to untar it wherever you like, and it's going to have everything inside there. So there's not, you know, this install process where you have to go through and install Wizard and it deposits pieces of itself all over your system. It really is kind of contained. Coronavirus report.zip. Yeah, that's interesting stuff. You've heard me talk a little bit about these crowdsourced machine learning projects, right? And one of them, you know, was coronavirus updates. So it's a place that has daily updates, and it's basically worldwide data on infection rates, death rates, recovery rates, region by region around the world. And you know, people are running this through machine learning systems and seeing what they can figure out, and it's pretty interesting data to look at. I spent a good part of my life crunching data, and it's something I enjoy, but I try to avoid because it's just a weird part of my brain. But anyway, so I pulled down a copy of that and kept that around for whatever. NORAD Command Center is perhaps more intriguing. So is Ivana Trump shaking hands with Fahd of Saudi Arabia. Alright, we are done with our download, so let's do our LS. We've got Eclipse Java 2023-03R Linux, blah blah blah. Okay, if I do a tar text verify file on that and pipe it through more, you can see it's going to download everything into an Eclipse directory. Okay, and there's a lot of stuff in here, but it's all sitting under that directory. So I'm just going to untar it under my download directory. And there's my Eclipse folder right there. Alright, now you can, if you're on Linux, you can, you know, set things up. Yes, I am recording this, so you don't have to write down all of that. Yeah, in yesterday's morning session, I completely blanked on recording, so I recorded the afternoon, but I think I'm back on my game now. Okay, so on my system, where is Eclipse? User bin Eclipse. And I've just got that set up as a link, and it links to Eclipse in my home directory under an Eclipse folder. So you can set this up however you like, right? I'm not going to worry about it for now. I'm sitting in my download folder. I'm going to go into my Eclipse folder, and I'm just going to run things from here. Alright, so let's close this window out. Now the one thing that I do have pre-installed though is my Java environment, okay, which if you have a Linux system you've probably already got. So I'm running Java 1.8, and that's a nice stable version. There are newer versions, and I'm running the OpenJDK. Alright, so I'm going to run Eclipse, and it's from this directory. Just make sure. And you get a nice splash screen popping up. And it wants a workspace, okay? Workspace is where you're going to put your projects. Some people put every project in its own workspace. That's not a bad thing to do, except that if you customize your environment, your customizations go away when you change workspace. So I just kind of cram everything into one workspace. I'm going to make a temporary one. I'm going to stick under downloads because I'm deleting all of this after class, so I can do this in the afternoon class. So I'll make an area called workspaces delete, and I'll say use this as the default and do not ask again, and I'll launch Eclipse. Another splash screen. And you get something like this. Alright, so there's a welcome window. I'm not going to worry about that. Package Explorer, there's no projects in your workspace, so you get something like this. I'm going to close out most of this. The task list, the outline. I'm going to keep basically the Package Explorer, this window down here, and this open space in the middle. And let's write a hello world. So I'm going to go under File, New Java Project. And I'm going to pick a project name. Okay, this can be whatever you like. I'm just going to call it Project 1. This should be set up based on your Java environment. As I say, 1.8 is fine. That's the standard edition. Don't mess around with this too much unless you're feeling brave. Okay. 1.8 works well. It's what I'll be using, and so everything that I do should be fine for that. Specific runtime environment, again, I'm just going to use the OpenJDK. I'm not going to mess with any of these things. Okay, create separate folders for sources and class files. Yeah, that's fine. I'm going to go ahead and say finish. So I've got this project 1. Now if I expand this, it's got a lot of stuff in there. I'm not going to worry about it. Okay, you can run down this bunny hole, but I'm not going to do that. So we need to make a class, right? Every time that we make a main program, it's sitting inside a class of some type. There is a dark mode, yes. And be careful with the dark mode because you know, I've done some tinkering with Eclipse to try to customize the colors. I like a dark background and stuff, and once in a while it breaks. And when it breaks, it is so hard to unbreak. Okay, and that's part of the reason I'm doing a fresh install now, because I could not undo everything that I had done. And it's very hard to save and go back to an old environment. So explore with a sense of adventure. Okay, let's make a class. I'm going to say File, New, and I'm going to say New Class. Okay, there's also a button here. You can click for that. So don't mess with this. Okay, it's going to put it under Project 1 Source. Don't mess with Project, with Package. But you have to give it a name. Okay. It will want the name to start with an uppercase letter. Actually, it doesn't tell you about that. So, yeah, let's just go ahead and give it a class name with an uppercase letter. Now you can click this box and says, I would like to create public static void main string bracket bracket args. Go ahead and do that. Okay. You can keep typing it in. Not a problem to have that. Do you want to add comments? You can have it generate comments. I'm not going to do that. All right. So click finish, and we're good to go. All right. So here's my default code. Okay. So what are we going to do? I'm going to go system dot, and stuff starts happening, right? System is underlined in red, and a window just popped up. I can ignore that and just type out dot and print line parentheses, and now it put in a closing parentheses, and I can say quote, and it put in closing quotes, and I can say hello, closing quote, closing parentheses, semicolon. Okay, so this is typical of IDEs. They watch what you're doing and they try to be helpful. Okay, think Clippy on steroids. You type one letter and it's like, oh, I know what you're trying to do. Let me do it for you. Okay, that can be helpful in some environments. It can be annoying when you're learning and you're just trying to type. So you can turn off some of these things, and in Eclipse it's pretty straightforward to turn these off. In other environments it's almost impossible. But we'll live with them for now, okay? And we'll see what they can do to help us. For example, when I typed in system, it brought up this window. Here's all the things that I could be typing after this period, including system.out, system.error, system.console, and so on, right? And this is underlined saying there's something wrong. So if I were to hit an escape and just stop typing here, it's telling me I've got an error at this point. If I hover my mouse over that, it'll say syntax error, insert semicolon to complete local variable declaration statement. Whatever that means. So I'll keep typing system.out.println parentheses quote. Okay, and it's filled in my matching quote. It's filled in my matching parentheses. So I could just say, you know, hello again. And if I type a quote and a closed parenthesis, it will overwrite the ones that are already there. They're not actually there, they're kind of suggested, which can be a little confusing. If I don't type them in and I want to put something in after this, I've got to move over to the end, right? So I can put my semicolon in. So anyway, there's a simple hello world. Let's go ahead and run it. So under run, you can say run, you can do control F11, or you can hit the run button over here. So we'll just do run, and it's going to ask, do you want to save? Okay, it's easiest to just check this box and say always save before launching. And anytime you run your code, it'll save everything. Alright, so it runs, and there's your output down here in the console window. Alright, and if you're just joining in, you've missed a lot, so make sure you watch the video, because we've been doing stuff. Alright, so I can run it again just by hitting the run button, and I can come up here and say goodbye, and hit the run button, right? So the idea of an IDE is to speed up your development cycle, right? To be able to type code, you don't have to leave the editor and then say Java C this, and then say Java that, and so on and so forth, and you get a compile error, and it, you know, you have to wait till you compile to see it, and so on and so forth. It's bringing it all together, right? If you're typing and you forget a parenthesis, you're going to get an indication right there, and if you try to run, it'll tell you, you know, there's an error. But before you even do that, you'll see, you know, red squiggly line, red over here, red over there, something is wrong, right? And you go back and you fix it, and the errors go away. If you actually fix it, the errors go away right away. But, you know, while you're typing that, you get the system freaking out on you like this whole thing is wrong. Well, I haven't put in my opening quote yet. Okay, so sometimes these things are helpful. Sometimes you just want to kind of ignore them and you know, proceed confidently. And then when you think you're done, if you've still got errors indicated, then you want to pay attention to that. All right, your main options are going to be under window preferences, and there's a pretty good search feature in here. So let's say I want to make my font bigger. Okay, well, it could be down here or it could be down there. This is under Git. I'm not going to mess with that. Eclipse understands Git. Makes me personally nervous having anything other than myself messing with Git. So I've played with it and I don't use it. But you can use it, you can integrate it, and when you make changes, stuff automatically gets pushed over and so on and so forth. That can be useful. Alright, so let's go down to colors and fonts. And we can, we can further search for settings. So let me go under Java. Let me go under basic. Maybe text font. Let's edit this and let's make this 12. I don't think that did anything. Oh, it did. Okay, cool. Found it. All right. So there's different options under there, and you can lose, a good chunk of your day going through all of the different options that are available. And they work for different environments, and some of them are applied across the board, and some of them are only for a particular language. So you can control typing. You can say, should I automatically close your strings and your parentheses and your brackets? Should I automatically insert braces? Should I automatically indent? And so on and so forth. I'm just going to turn off most of those. But totally up to you. Alright. I got stuff going on over here. I got a bunch of red marks over there. I don't know why, but see that little star next to where it says Hello Java? That means I have not saved my changes. And remember, I had a syntax error on this line, and I changed it by putting in my starting quote, but I haven't saved it yet. And everything in my project, the source, the default package, all of that stuff is saying error, 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 okay? I'll come over here and Control S to save. All of that goes away. All right, so don't panic, right? It's error checking as you go. Save your changes, make sure your errors go away. And this will stop you from, the unfortunate experience of writing 200 lines of Java and then you try to compile it and you find you've got 98 errors. You'll kind of know as you're writing if there's something wrong. And it could just be I forgot my opening curly bracket. And it's pretty good about, oh, there's a problem here. Syntax error, curly bracket expected. All right, let's put in the curly bracket. All right, let's play with a scanner. So you're gonna make a scanner that reads from standard in, system.in. These are underlined red. Hover on it and it says scanner cannot be resolved. 7 quick fixes available. The first fix is usually pretty good. It says import scanner from java.util. If I just click that, bang, it wrote my import statement for me. Okay, this is something I love about IDEs. They'll handle the imports for you. Now I got a yellow line under here, which is a warning. What's the warning? The value of SC is not used. Well, I haven't written that code yet, but it's letting me know. So let's say, well, scanner SC has next int. Let's add the next integer from our input to a running sum. And let's print out that running sum. Okay, sum doesn't exist yet. I haven't declared it. It might offer to declare it for me, right? Create local variable sum. Just go ahead and type integer sum if you like. But, I can have it declare it. Well, it made it a Boolean. That was kind of silly. So I'll undo that with Control Z, and I'll go back and do what I really wanted to do, which was integer sum equals 0. Oh, I made it a Boolean because it was supposed to be a Boolean. So I wanted to add next int. Alright, so let's go ahead and let it create our local variable for us. Okay, it makes an integer sum. And I'll initialize it to 0. So now we got code that should, let us type in a bunch of integers and give us the sum until we hit the end of the file. So let me go ahead and run that. I'll type in 23, and I'll type in 47, and I'll type in 1. And now I'm going to hit Control D. Now Control D does not always work in Eclipse. Sometimes it's Control Z. Sometimes it just doesn't work. But I'm going to hit Control D, and it takes that as end of file, and it printed out the sum was 71. And it tells me terminated. Okay. So when I'm running, this little box down here turns red. Right, it's the standard icon. Tells me that my code is running. If I click this while it's running, I've got it running twice. Okay. And I've got 2 consoles. So that's the first one, which I can type, 23 and 3, right? But I've still got it running somewhere else, which is under the second console. And there I can do 2, 3, 4, and 1. Okay, and that's terminated now. So it's a different experience from the command line, but different ways of doing the same things. And I've still got a yellow mark over here, and my SC is underlined with a yellow squiggly. You can point at that, or you can hover over the thing itself, and it says resource leak, SC is never closed. What can you do? Well, you can say, don't ever warn me about that. You can say, don't ever warn me about resources in this entire method, right? Or you know what, you could close your scanner, or you can just ignore it, right? We don't need to close the scanner on here, but if we opened a file, right, file hasn't been imported yet, so hover over that, do the import, right? And add a closing parenthesis. All right. So what's it complaining about now? Unhandled exception type. All right. So what can we do? We can add a throws declaration to the main and say, you know what, main may throw an exception, but we don't want to do that. We want to be nuanced about this. So we can say, let's surround this with a try catch. All right. Well, it moved my scanner declaration outside the try block. It made a try block. It created a catch block for the type file not found exception. It put a comment in there saying to do, right, this is an auto-generated block, which will print a stack trace. But I could print something like system out print line, can't open file, test.txt. And then let's return. Right? And until I did that return, right, I was getting these errors on SC. What are those errors? It's telling me that SC may not have been initialized. Okay, so let's go return, which means we're not going to try to use SC if we failed to construct. And now we should be good to go. Okay, so here's one of the things I see as a potential danger of this kind of environment, right? If you start trying to run down the errors as it produces them, you're fighting a different battle from learning Java and learning how to program using objects, okay? You're trying to understand its concerns and address those, right? And so sometimes it's nice to write your code and then try to compile it and see the errors, and you've got a firm idea in your head what you want your code to do, and now you're seeing, where you need to make changes to make that happen. That to me is a more productive mindset for learning this stuff than constantly trying to track down what the environment is trying to warn you about. Whoa, did I just lose my session? Come on, buddy. Alright, so yeah, my internet is down. Comcast says it'll be up by 2:36 this afternoon. I don't know where they come up with that number. I'm guessing it's the time it's reported plus 4 hours. But so let me just continue with what I was saying. So where were we? So we can put in these try-catch blocks automatically, and it takes care of stuff for you, right? So we can go ahead and run this. and it says can't open file test.txt. Okay, suppose you want to make a test.txt. Where do you find it? Well, let's take a look at hello.java, and you got to find that thing, right? So let's go into our directory tree. So I was working under my download directory, and I made a directory called Workspaces delete, and there's my project 1, and this is where the class files will go. This is where the source files will go. Okay, I believe when you execute, you're executing under the bin directory. So let's try this. Let's create an empty file called test.txt, and let's put inside there 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now let's go ahead and run our code. And could not open test.txt. Okay, so let's take this out of here, and let's put it under the source directory, and let's run our code. And it still could not open. So let's take this out of here, and let's put it under the project 1 directory. And it tells us the sum is 15. Okay, so what did we just learn? The directory that you're running from is, at least in this case, it's that top level project directory. Okay, we could also have created a file to find that out, or we could have, asked for what directory we're in to find that out. But this is typical of like rapid development, rapid prototyping, right? Go in and do some stuff, and hit the run button, and it does it. Okay. All right. What else do I want to show you from here? Well, okay, let me go ahead and do this since it's class time anyway. So let's deal with the swing class. So under help, you can say install new software. Okay. Under work with, I'm going to say let's work with the same site that we downloaded from. And under type filter text, oh, I don't have internet though, so that's not going to work. But under filter text, I'm going to say swing. Okay. And it's going to show me the classes I can download, but I can't do that without internet. So that will have to be postponed. All right, I'm just going to leave it at this for now. That's hopefully pretty good introduction. If you close all, right, you still are inside your project, right? And this little triangle pointing down tells me that I'm inside my project. So I can right click on this and I can say close project, and now my little arrow next to this is gone. That means the project's closed. Okay, really important piece of advice: only have one project open at a time. Don't try working on 2 projects at once, because it's hard to control which files are from which projects, and it's possible you're going to see a file over here that actually belongs to a different project, and you're going to make changes to it, and you're going to rerun your code, and those changes aren't going to take effect, and it's going to drive you crazy. And the problem is you're manipulating files that don't belong to your current project. So only keep one project open at a time. Really easy to open, just double click, and you can make new class files. Let's make a new class called class 2, and it's not going to have a public static void main. There's a class 2, and now I've got 2 files in my project. I can open them both up here, and it's a tabbed view, right? So there's my main program, there's class 2, and so on. But when you're done, right click on your project, close project, and everything goes away. Okay, and that's where you always want to start from when you begin a new project. Alright, that's probably a good enough intro for now. I'll see you about getting my internet up. I'll be doing office hours on my phone at 11 o'clock. Alright, take care. Bye.